You are now tuned into the 2-Minute Warning, a live stream community conversation pertaining to social and political issues and how we can collectively resolve them. Powered by the Westside Gazette.
Good evening and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning. I'm your fill-in host, Brother David Wright, and I'm sitting in by dear brother, Mr. Perry Busby. The 2-Minute Warning is brought to you by Broward County's boldest, blackest, oldest, black-owned, family-owned newspaper, the Westside Gazette, powered by the Westside Gazette. And I'm here with no other than my dear brother, Bobby R. Henry Sr. How you doing this evening, my brother?
I am terrific and getting better. Somewhat reserved for this evening, but nevertheless, I'm here, willing, ready, and able.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on. And we want to go ahead and start our show tonight because, like we said, it's June. We're feeling the summer heat. Now we're getting the rain. And just so much in the atmosphere. How did you get here? Did you swim? Did you take a boat? How'd you get here?
No, I was fortunate enough to get out just before the storms came, and Mother Nature saw it in our behalf just to suck up some of that water to allow us to get here. So we are here. Thank you.
Well, many folks are being impacted by these torrential rains, and we ask that you just adhere to the authorities. Do the right thing. If you don't need to be on the road, don't stay home.
Yes, please stay home. Don't do that. We got enough to deal with aside from what Mother Nature is going to present with us.
Yes.
Heck, we got some people who want to be Mother Nature and try to call the shots and do some things. Yeah,
You don't drop some names.
Okay.
It's that time of day. This is 2-Minute Warning.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I had the pleasure of attending the 41st gala of the Florida Democratic Black Caucus. It was well attended, the first time in the history of the NAACP the Florida State branch and the Black Caucus to actually be together for a brief time. So that in itself was amazing. The format was great. The panels were extremely well, and everything was good. The guest speaker, the young brother from Tennessee,
Justin.
Yeah, man, the Presbyterian preacher, man, that brother rocked the house. I hope and pray that for those young people who would have an opportunity to get a chance to hear this brother and be in his company, to draw something from him. He seems to have an old spirit rooted in the beginning and the humbleness of what Black strength looks like. So I really appreciated that. And I had an opportunity to be on a panel. And I have to tell the truth. I can't lie. On that panel, before our panel came up, there were 3 other panels. The panels were well attended. The panelists were well versed. But what it said to me was that the Black press or Black-owned media companies do not get the respect that we deserve. And I say that because the first 3 panels, there was not a mention of the need or the respect of the Black press. Now I'm saying that, but I must commend the Florida Black Democratic Caucus for having the panel with Black media. And this is where things got a little heated, if you will. Anytime we as a people are engaged in conversation and there seems to be a misunderstanding or a fact that's being misrepresented, then we should address that right there. As our parents told us, where you cut up, that's where you're going to get tore up. So whenever we find ourselves in situations, we need to speak up. Number one, that's one of the things that have caused us to be in the position that we're in. We're not speaking up enough. We are letting people say and do things that is not true, not correct, and they're just trying to do it based on what they think. not any research, not any reaching out to ask anybody if that's true or not. Just to make a blanket statement is incorrect and is wrong. And anytime that I'm in the company of something that happens like that, you are going to be addressed and ask you to tell the truth. And then if you can't, okay. And if we need to have a sidebar, let's have it. But do not discount or walk away from me or from the situation. So, but I must say that the conference was well attended. The meaning was well. And I think what folk got from it, based upon the feedback we got, one from an 83-year-old lady who said, son, you guys really taught me something. I am so proud. But let me tell you this, baby. Don't let them get you excited. Don't let them upset you. You stick to what you got to say. And I must thank Miss Washington for that. Miss Rose Washington, an 83-year-old Delta Sigma Theta, who pulled me aside and gave me an old-fashioned lesson in humility. And I certainly thank you for that. And to Miss Jill Daggs, you put on one hell of a show. And to your workers, Miss Florence Shelton Clark, Miss Susie, classmate, and the rest of you, Presidential Mallory, you did an outstanding job. Thank you, and keep it up.
Looking forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back here, because there is a journalistic duty. There is a civic duty, as well as our biblical duty, to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Well, as they say, tell the truth and shame the devil.
Yeah.
And again, being, we can't run away from it.
No.
And just because we may differ in our views and our facts and in our opinions, at some point, we, especially when it's in-house, when it's amongst us, we have to come to some type of agreement and understanding. Yeah. And I think if not, it's going to continue to hold us back. And, we got to do better.
And one of the other comments was made once we got through with the panel was, young man, don't you ever discuss our business in front of white people like that.
Among us.
Yeah.
Let me say a sidebar.
A sidebar. Yes. It was indeed, I'm telling you, it was one of those moments where either you're gonna poop or get off the toilet. And if something like that happens, I would hope that everybody, if you're in that situation and you know that it's incorrect, to at least say something about it. Fact check. We owe it to ourselves. Fact check.
Amen. Amen. So, man, so much else is going on. I mean, we talking school board, then we got all these festivities. We got Juneteenth, Men's Health, Sister Gala, Pride Month, Caribbean Month. A lot is going on here in South Florida. Yeah. I think once we get past this rain, we might be able to celebrate a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know what Iceberg Slim said, don't you?
Oh, what's that?
Baby, get out there and dance between the rain and make my money. So we can go back a little bit. Not be ashamed. We got to do this thing. It's not, if we're going to tell the truth, tell the truth. And there's a way and place for everything. The school board. You brought up the school board.
Principals. What's going on, man? They flipping them around.
It appears to be that there's nothing new when it comes to the Broward County School Board. When our superintendent was Dr. Vicky Cartwright, she made some decisions that cost her job. And some of those decisions involved moving key people, demoting them, people with PhDs, and were highly skilled in their area of expertise. However, because those individuals at some point or another went up against the BTU president and chastised her, or at least to say, I'm not afraid of you, and so because of that, they were demoted. Now, not only just that, let me clarify that. Let me clarify that. It is alleged and rumored to say that the BTU president had something to do with it, and is still calling shots today. So if you can, on Tuesday, get down there to the Kathleen C. Wright building and attend this meeting. It's of extreme importance. I understand that one of the principals, the principal who has been at Dillon High School, if I'm not mistaken, 11 years maybe, and has brought this school over tumultuous things that have been in her past.
From William Dandy to Dillon.
That's right. And has put it on the map. And now they are deciding to move her. I must say that it has been a history in the school systems across the country. If you got a Black principal that is strong and is doing something positive for the school system, they then move you to another school, take you from where you have brought this school thus from and put you in another situation. And I think it's time for us to stand up, speak out, and say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I ain't gonna do it no more. And I think that's where we are.
So no sense of loyalty to our students,
No.
our teachers, our community. And you know, it's those areas where we see people thriving. And Bobby, we've seen it before. And they figure we can pull you out of here and you can go work your magic in another community, out west somewhere, in a community that really can't even identify with you in some cases. So Tuesday.
And I'm not certain of the time, certain event, but we would definitely.
The school board meetings are held on those Tuesdays. Okay. And you know, a lot of us are out of school, so we should be able to pack the house down there.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got some sports coming on. I think I see Brother Mooney back there, man. Can we go ahead and let our sports analysts come on and
I don't know. We got some hot stuff going on.
I think we do. Hey, without any further delay, we're gonna bring on our sports analyst, Brother Mooney Robinson, with a 2-minute warning sports minute.
Awesome. I'm doing great. And I'm glad to be here. It's been about 3 weeks. I got knocked out by a phone call one time, and all I had to do was call in. That didn't work out. Then we had a postponement. So I thought I had lost my job. But I'm eager and ready to go. I want to revisit something that happened a couple of weeks ago, involving Major League Baseball and the Negro Leagues. I don't know if you heard that they decided to combine the stats of the Negro League players from the 1920 to 1948. And what that actually did was place Josh Gibson in a different position than he was before. And there were over 2,300 Negro League players who were fantastic. There was a Negro League and the regular leagues because they said the blacks were inferior, right? That's always what they always say. But that's not the case. But my point of contention is that it was done posthumously, which means that it was done after they were gone. And Major League Baseball was simply reacting to the George Floyd not death, his murder. And I commend Major League Baseball. I'm not criticizing them. It's just that those players would get their recognition through their families and their loved ones, not themselves. And I think it puts a little taint on it. It's like it's after the fact. Okay. We have 3 living players who went in the Negro Leagues. And perhaps you've heard of one. I'll mention him last. The other 2 were Bill Greason. I've never really heard of him. That's the sad part about having to go back because you don't know the history of many of these players. And the other one was Ron Teasley. But the one you have heard about is Willie Mays. Yeah. He played, the Say Hey Kid, and actually I emulated him growing up, and I also used his example of the basket catch. I just didn't have his speed. So that's something to be proud of in a sense, but also it's kind of there's some remorse because those who actually participated can't benefit themselves. But we're proud of Major League Baseball and those players that are alive, and that's an impact, and it means that everybody is not like 45. Secondly, Caitlin Clark is always in the news. Now, everybody knows at this time who Caitlin Clark is. She's a phenomenal Caucasian basketball player from the University of Iowa, who's #1 draft pick of the Indiana Fever. Now, she has brought a lot of notoriety to the WNBA and women's basketball in general on the collegiate level as well as professional level. And it's just sad to say that race always plays a role in all of these mechanisms. It's nations. That's just the way it is. In America, race has its issue. Okay, so what happened? Caitlin was left off the Olympic team. Now there are some, and a lot of people were angry and upset because she was left off. Now here's the question: do you want the 12 best women who can win a gold for the country, or are you more concerned about the things that she brings to the table, like increased attendance, popularity, finances, that kind of thing? Well, I think no matter what side you're on, the WNBA is going to be all right. The Olympic team is going to be all right, and Caitlin Clark is going to be all right because she'll be able to play in 28, and she'll probably be stronger. And the fact is, she's not one of the best 12 players, and that's why she was not selected. Okay, number 3, the NBA. How many of you are actually shocked that the Boston Celtics are actually annihilating the Dallas Mavericks after seeing the Mavericks defeat Denver and Minnesota, 2 outstanding Western Conference teams, when they thought the Eastern Conference was actually the inferior conference? But what Boston has is tremendous balance and 4, 5, 6 players who can score, and they play prolific defense. So I was proud because both teams have black coaches, and that's something to be proud of. I always look at that as an advantage for us. So whoever wins, we're going to be all right, and we're going to be on top. But Boston has a 3-0 lead, and I believe that they're going to close it out and win their 18th championship, NBA championship, placing them 1 ahead of the Los Angeles Lakers. And quickly, you know that Dan Hurley, the Lakers were trying to hire him as the basketball coach. He's won the last 2 NCAA championships at UConn, University of Connecticut, in Stores. But he decided to stay on the collegiate level. So that means that Los Angeles had to go back and regroup and start all over again. Well, the latest thing is that J.J. Redick, who does a podcast with LeBron James and who was rumored to be the leading candidate in the first place, he's going to interview him. It's more than likely that he is going to be named the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers in the next couple of weeks. More than likely. That remains to be seen. The other thing is Chet Walker, the great basketball player from Bradley University, 2-time All-American, died this past weekend. He was on the 1967 championship Philadelphia team with Wilt Chamberlain and some other great players. And finally, because Bobby, I was listening to what you all were talking about, and that's just awesome. And it tells us a lot about our society right now, what's going on. But the Florida Panthers have really taken the pressure off the Miami Heat and our Marlins, because they aren't doing anything. But the Panthers are on the verge of winning the Stanley Cup. They are in Edmonton now, and they have taken a 2-games lead over the Oilers. So I believe with all my heart that they are going to not necessarily win in Edmonton, but perhaps win 1 game and come back with a 3-1 lead, and here in Amerant Bank Arena defeat the Oilers and win the Stanley Cup for the first time in Florida Panther history. So we are very proud of them and what they've accomplished. I don't know if y'all have any questions for me, but that's all I have for you tonight.
Well, you know we got a few, but going back to the Negro League, I just got to add one of my childhood friends. We're still close friends today. His grandfather, Oliver Smith, was a pitcher back in the Negro League back in the day. So kudos to everything that they're doing now, merging those stats over into the National Baseball League. And you can't talk about Boston without shouting out Jaylen Brown, can you?
Absolutely. They want to pit Jalen and Tatum together, against each other, but they said we're not having any of that. We just want to win, whether Tatum scores 20 points or 10 points, as long as they win it. So they've overcome all of that. So they're both excellent ball players, and I think the key to their victory though has been Drew Holiday. He was with the Milwaukee Bucks when they won. He's a solid professional, just a class act, and so I'm really proud of what they've done. Even though I'm not crazy about Boston and its racial history.
Okay. Not only that, they did do some stuff though outside of those. They were made to do outside of those racial boundaries. So I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely.
At least their players stepped up, and
Right.
and actually did something. So yeah.
And I think Jalen's been leaving to just stay in the moment. That's been his mantra. Just stay in the moment, and that's been helping them out. And kudos to the Marlins. I mean, to the Panthers. We'll see what happens.
Just quickly, Bill Russell, when he was honored by the team for his Hall of Fame, he didn't want any fans. He just wanted his teams and the coach, because of the way they treated him in Boston.
That's right.
And finally, happy Father's Day to you both and everybody out there. God bless.
Thank you.
All right.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Well, we're going to move into the show, man, because we got a lot to talk about tonight. The theme for tonight's show is barred from Father's Day, but not love. And I guess I'll go ahead and introduce our first guest. If you saw the flyer, our first guest is Mr. Grady Marshall. Grady Marshall is a 75-year-old married disabled veteran who served 28 straight years in FDOC. He's now become a licensed minister and a member of the St. John's MBC, and that's in Leesburg, Florida. So let's go ahead and bring our dear brother Grady Marshall on. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, Mr. Henry, Mr. Wright. Thank you for having me on your program this evening.
Yeah, Mr. Marshall, go ahead and tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Manatee County, Florida, which is about 40 miles below Tampa. And I was a very patriotic young man. And back during 1967, I volunteered for the service, went to Vietnam, and was wounded, received a Purple Heart, saw my best friend die in my arms, December 26, 1967. Whole head taken off. And everybody around me died that day but me. And it was a very traumatic event. And I tell anybody this, when I was in Vietnam, I saw a lot of drug use going on. And believe you me, when I tell you that Southeast Asia had the best drugs on the market, and they probably still do. And a lot of guys got hooked on the heroin. A lot of guys got hooked on opium. But I could go to the PX and buy me a fifth of Canadian Mist for like $2.85. So technically, I became an alcoholic. Upon leaving the military, I moved up to Connecticut to be with my dad, and never knew my dad. My mom died when I was like 7 months old, and my dad was not in evidence. But I kind of went astray. I was wild. I was young. I was suffering from something called post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, back in when I got out of the military, I got out I went in 67, came out in 1971. You was just shell shock. And they didn't have no definition for the trauma that combat soldiers was going through. But long story short, I wind up with a 75-year sentence. Killed my girlfriend. And the only thing that kept me off death row in the state of Florida was the fact that this lady had tried to kill me 3 times. And my family had a little money. So we hired a private investigator. He went up to Connecticut. He got the arrest records and brought them back to Florida. And so the state said, well, we're going to take the death penalty off the table, but we'll give him a life sentence. Well, you see, the way the DOC scored a life sentence back in the days, I had no prior felonies in Florida, Connecticut, nor New York. And so when I went to a jury trial, my jury trial started November the 28th, 1983, and ran to December the 16th. So when the jury came back with a verdict of second-degree murder, the judge asked the prosecutor, well, when is Mr. Marshall's birthday? And he said, let me check, Your Honor. He said, well, Mr. Marshall's birthday is February the 9th. He said, okay, now this is December the 16th, 83. He said, okay, we'll sentence him for February the 9th. So they held me over until the next year rolled around, and they rolled me into the courtroom. And they was going to give me a life sentence. But I tell everybody, see, God have always watched over my life. From a child coming up through Vietnam, through the mean streets of New York City, hanging out in East New York, hanging out on 125th Street, hanging out in parts of town where I knew was no good for me to be. But when they start to sentence me, the prosecutor jumped and say, hold it, don't do it. He said, because the way the DOC scores a life sentence, Mr. Marshall will be out in 7 years, 8 at the most, Your Honor. The man have no prior felonies anywhere. He said, I want you to sentence Mr. Marshall to 75 years, whole jurisdiction, pursuant to Florida statute 947.16. He said, that's the retention of jurisdiction statute. And Mr. Marshall cannot get out of prison for a minimum of 25 years. Even if DOC wanted to parole him, they can't. They have to come through you. And so the judge said, okay, we'll do that. And I was young, I was angry. They drug me out there screaming and cussing. You know, I talked about everybody's mother and their grandmother and their aunties too. And so I went into prison at the Rock, Rayford. And it was very bad back then. They had just came off a lockdown because Sergeant Denard had just got killed. The guy had just stabbed him up. Inmate did. And so it was a very tumultuous time. And I was green. I didn't know anybody. I was very afraid. But I got involved with all the programming that I could while I was incarcerated. I went through all the Dale Carnegie courses, Speak Up Dynamics, Communication Dynamics, Leadership Dynamics. Got involved with the JCs, became president of the JCs while I was at the Rock. And I went through the Go Lab, went through all the classes that I could because I just felt like God would bring me out one day. And God did deliver me and God did bring me out. But one thing I want to tell America is this. No man or woman go to prison and come out the same. No man. You're either going to come out better or you're going to come out worse. And I was determined to come out a better man because I felt like I had something to give back to society. So
Amen.
Here I am.
Amen.
You know, when I got out, St. John Missionary Baptist Church used to always come to Lake Correctional. And the Orlando Sentinel in 1987, they did a front page news article on me. Gorbachev, the president of Russia, him and I made the headlines that day. And I didn't want to do this interview with the Orlando Sentinel because I felt like no newspaper or no news media, period, would have anything positive to say about an inmate. But Lieutenant Sharp, who was in Vietnam at a different year, but in the same unit, was a lieutenant at Lake Correctional. He was a major in the military. He said, Marshall, go ahead on, do the story. So I did, and they had my picture on the A section in color front page about how I donated to the, I helped fund the African Relief Fund when I was at the Rock back in 1987, 88. Then when I got down to Lake Correctional, I started funding every year. The Orlando Sentinel had a Sentinel Santa Fund, and I would donate to that every year. I donated to Save the Children. And I only had like $87 a month coming in from the VA at that time. But I felt a need to repay the debt from the life that I took. You know, even though this woman tried to kill me 3 times, was arrested in Connecticut on attempted second-degree murder charges, And that's the only reason that they took the death penalty off the table.
Mhm.
But see, back then there was no stalking law. So this lady followed me to Florida. We got into a fight. It's raining. It's at night. And we live like in a wooded area. And when she came at me and hit me in the arm with a knife, I lost it. I snapped. I just went back to Vietnam. But, you know, I can tell anybody this. When I went to prison and I met the people at St. John Missionary Baptist Church.
Brother Mark, we're going to let you continue that story, okay? But we do want to bring on our other guests because we want to create a dialogue. There are so many stories out there. There are fathers out there, and we want to really touch on some of the things, the other positive things that we want to discuss tonight. So we're going to let Bobby bring on our next guest, and then we're going to bring you back on, okay? So stay right there.
All right.
All right, don't go nowhere.
I ain't going nowhere.
And thank you very much, Brady. Our next guest is no stranger to the show. He's been on here a couple of times. And Darrell Hope himself has served, I think it was 32 years, if I'm not mistaken, in the Correctional Institute, both federal and state. And Darrell he and I had an extensive conversation today that really brought me around. Darrell is an entrepreneur. You know, Darrell is constantly going. He's constantly doing things. He's trying to have programs to bring other people up. He's constantly going. And so during our conversation today, I said to Darrell, you can't make up 32 years in 3 years. You can't do it, man. Sometimes you're going to have to stop and just, let yourself catch up. But nevertheless, Brother Hope has been an example of what one could do coming from adverse situation. So if we can we bring on Darrell Hope, please?
Yeah.
Good evening,
Thank you,
Darrell.
How you doing, Mr. Wright?
Doing well, sir.
Okay, Mr. Marshall and Mr. Robinson.
Great to see you, sir.
Pleased to meet you. I want to say happy Father's Day to you guys and the rest of the fellas out there who's tuning in, family members and friends as well. What's going on, Bobby?
It's all good, Hope, man. It's just an honor. And as Grady was talking, it just so happens that both of y'all are born as Aquarius, and both of y'all can talk. So we're gonna have to break this thing up, and you all, I know you got great stories there. I know. If I can just do this, if I can just say how this program came to be tonight. Okay. I got a family member who's doing time right now at Martin Institute. Yeah. Murder Martin, they call it. Yeah.
Been there.
And so, and so going through the necessary channels to bring some light on his case, I said, hold up, wait a minute, man. Let's see if we can do something for all the brothers, the positive brothers who are behind the wall, who may seem like life has passed them by. I wanted us to jump in and bring some positive inspiration to those brothers. So Darrell, if you can give us a 2-minute spiel about what you've done and since you've been out and how you are maintaining.
Okay, well, I've been out a few years now, maybe a couple about 2 years and a half, close to 3 years. I just did 31 years, 30 years in federal prison, left from there. I was telling Bobby about the state of Florida. I'm gonna try to sum this up. And how if you owe the state of Florida a day, you could be in Canada, you could be in Alaska.
That's
the
right.
state of Florida coming to get you. So I ended up coming back here in 92 after being sentenced to life and shipped to Leavenworth, and ended up receiving an additional sentence of 5 years and 7 years running consecutive from a life sentence in 5 years. So I had 4 sentences running wild. So I started out, they gave me a life sentence of 5 on a drug conspiracy case. No drugs involved, no nothing. But, like people say that they the ones that are close to me, you just paid your debt, right, to society. We have a way of believing that karma don't, have a way of coming back, but it does. We pay our dues in so many ways, And I was telling Bobby also today that I'm very spiritual, man. and I've seen a lot behind the walls. I've been to Rayford too, the Rock. On the way out, it probably wasn't as bad as it was when you was in there, but I've been through there. And I ran across a lot of good brothers. And while I was in prison, I went within myself, man, and I had to kind of balance things out. And I weighed my do's and my don'ts. And the thing came around to the point where I knew that I didn't deserve a life sentence, even though my life sentence my paperwork read death, deceased, right? It wasn't just life without parole. Back then, when they sentence you to life and they put on the paperwork, it says to deceased. Then they changed it from deceased to 99 years, right? So while I was in there, I started to change my life around because I started to pray a lot. And I ran across a lot of good brothers, and I seen a lot of things that, might could help me, right, if I was willing to do the right thing. So I started to take a lot of classes. I started to take a lot of programs, like you said, Mr. Marshall, right? Started to work out a lot, pray a lot, read a lot of books. I stayed in the law library. I was
oh yeah.
I stayed in the law library. I taught classes, I cut hair, did a lot of constructive things. I want to give a shout out to Brother Lovett, because he started a program called The Father Behind Bars. And that program kind of changed my life because we had a lot of skits and a lot of plays going on back then. A lot of stuff that go on in Florida State Prison don't go, a lot of stuff going in the federal system don't go on in the state system. A lot of people think the systems are different, but they're somewhat similar. You find a lot of individuals prefer to go to the federal prison if they had a choice than the state because of the conditions of the state across the board, right? But I tell you, as time went on, things started to change. And when I say change, I mean change drastically, fast. I got locked up in 90. I say around about 95. When I came in, it was something like maybe in MCC Miami, I probably seen if there wasn't 15 to 20 quote unquote blacks like us in that facility in less than 6 months' time, they had then transformed it. Where all those other individuals went, I don't know, but they started to fill the spot up. If y'all remember Judge Ferguson, I can't think his first name, from out of Miami. He spoke about how the
Wilkie
Ferguson. He spoke about how they was going to go about filling up these facilities and how the changes is going to come about and how they start taking state cases from federal case. I had a simple state case. They turned into a federal case. Long story short, state dropped all the charges, Fed end up picking them up, sentenced me. I went to trial, giving me a life sentence. Okay. That was a part of my reproduction, I guess, if you want to say, where I had to pay my dues for things I did. Now, going on, because you said 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know you done went 30, but you're all right. Hold, we're gonna come back, bro. And look, I mean, okay, with all due respect, you two brothers are something else.
Yes.
You got so much inside of you that you're trying to get out. I want to do this, and I tried my best. So if anybody watching, and you're from the Florida Department of Corrections, we tried our best to try to find some good footage on the penal system, but we couldn't find that much. So I want to show this video of the possible things that happen being incarcerated in the Florida Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
On the morning of September 8th, 2017, Craig Ridley, an inmate at Florida State Prison Hospital, struck a corrections officer in the face. The officers tackled Ridley to the ground, face first. Ridley told them his neck was broken. The officers said he was faking. He wasn't.
Sergeant Meadows was attempting to counsel with him about his attitude getting up to go to work for food service this morning, at which time he struck Sergeant Meadows on the left-hand side of the face. I assisted Sergeant Nettles in placing an inmate on the ground right here. At this time, the inmate's refusing to walk to go to medical for his post-use of force physical and pre-confinement. Got a wheelchair on the way. Sergeant Scott, they may need your assistance, sir.
3:33 a.m.
Yep. Don't let it fall out. Don't let it fall out.
Okay, I don't, again, I want us to understand the gravity of what can happen behind the prison walls. I'm not saying that every prison, every guard, every warden condones or allows this to happen, but it has happened so frequently in Florida that it brought to my attention because I have a loved one that's incarcerated. And we want to bring attention. It's Father's Day now. And I know that all of our viewers from A.E. Davis all the way down to Marilyn Coney, I'm sure somewhere one of our relatives has been incarcerated somewhere. And we have spent sleepless nights wondering about them. So before we go on, I just want to call out a couple of names of fathers. And I'm not talking about those fathers who have done horrendous things. I'm not talking about those fathers. I'm talking about the true, real fathers who behind bars try to give their love and their support.
Those deserving fathers.
Deserving fathers. You know, and so Hope, I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna read a few names off, and I'm gonna come back to you. And if you could just share with us a little bit, you know, what we talked about today, if you want to. Okay. Now, so I want to call out the name of Rodney Lockett. Rodney is incarcerated in the Florida Department of Corrections. I want to call out Bruce Smith, Mike Green, Jerome Henry, James Merritt, Freddie Green, Herman Wallace, Mike Jones. That's just a few. We got some more, but I want to Eric Anderson, Tony Flowers. We got some more. But I want to stop right here because what Daryl shared with me today is something that I never thought about, you know, but it happens. So if you will, Daryl.
Which part of it, Bobby?
You know, being a father, doing all those years and coming out and all the good that you have done.
Okay, well, you know, my whole purpose and my goal was while incarcerated, like I was saying a moment ago, that after I weighed my do's and my don't like the scale, right, I knew that I didn't deserve that. So I had a mindset that I will get out one day. I just don't know when. So I'm going to work towards doing the right thing, bettering my life, changing my state of mind in the way I see things and do things. Because like he just said a moment ago, not all correctional officers are bad. Because I ran into a lot of correctional officers had showed a lot of concerns. I ran across a few wardens that showed a lot of concerns, and other individuals that stepped up when some officers was doing other than their job, right, causing harm and bodily harm, you know what I'm saying, towards inmates, letting them know that they weren't going to tolerate that or be a part of that. So just to say that, right, you know, me, myself, I didn't have those type of encounters, right? I just stayed accordingly, you say, to what I knew that I needed to do to better myself. So when the time came or had the time come, I would be somewhat a candidate, you know what I'm saying, like, for instance, like it was when I found myself being granted by the courts immediate release, compassionate release. I like I told Bob, I did 30 years in federal prison. I filed, you know, Mr. Marshall, I filed so many motions.
And I know.
I filed so many motions, man. I can write a book about it, right? So to get the opportunity to sit here today in my living room and to say to the brothers out there that's listening and may by chance get a chance to see this later or read it in the newspaper, man, keep fighting, man. Don't never give up. I know a lot of brothers in there. I want to give some shout outs to Brother Malone, Perry Malone from out of Georgia. He's in Jessup, Georgia. He's a fighting, fearless little brother, man. He's been on Dateline News. He's been on, I think, 60 Minutes. He's been on a lot of shows. And he has a crack cocaine case, a simple case. He's a father. He left like me. My children was babies when I left. I come back there grown. I got 26 grands now. I was sharing with Bobby the experiences I'm going through today. Opportunity blessed me to the point where I was able to keep up with all my children. I had no regrets. I had no hard feelings, you know what I'm saying, towards my children, mothers, and nothing. Just I was thankful for them allowing me the opportunity to keep up with my children so I could be somewhat other father. I wasn't focusing on a relationship. My focus was getting out of there. And if I had a relationship with my children, I always supported them to the fullest. When it come down to keeping in touch, I wrote them. They came to see me when they got an opportunity to. I called, I stayed in touch. All this make it different when you're behind the walls and you got family. I just want to share one thing with y'all. We had an incident that occurred in Chicago. I was in Beaumont, Texas, penitentiary. I was telling Bobby about Beaumont Penitentiary. That's one of the worst penitentiaries in the United States. Beaumont, Leavenworth, Lewisburg, Terry. I done been to all of them. Just like you saying, the Rock and Rafe and all of them, I come through all of them. God bless me, right?
Amen.
Yada, I walk through the shadow of the valleys of death. I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rose, thy staff, thy comfort me. Thou prepared the table for me in the presence of my enemy. Thou walk with me. Every step of the way, I always said that prayer. I always had that arm on. Stay prayed up, man. Right?
That's right.
Stay in touch with your family. Stay in touch with your kids. Don't get caught up on relationship stuff. Nobody know your case better than you know your case, right? Keep fighting. Stay strong. Stay in them programs, man. They work. They're going to help you out in the long run. If you had a life sentence like me and you felt like a lot of other brothers felt like they didn't have a chance, they were never getting out, don't turn to the left. Keep going straight, man. Don't feed into that negativity, man. Keep going straight because it's so much, man, that we have lost, right? It's so much that, you know what I'm saying, that we don't realize, man, that our families and our children need us because of the changes, man, in this world today. I've been going 31 years, man, a lot done changed. During my incarceration and keeping up with my family, writing them, calling them, constantly keeping up with them, I thought when I got out, you know what I'm saying, that it was going to be all in one unity, right? But, man, they need us better than we can even imagine, man. It's like he said, we got so much to share, but we only got a short period of time. I was telling Bobby today, I don't know if this is the part of that. I want to throw this in now because this is something I'm working on that's going to help majority of the individuals in state and federal prison. And I've been working on it for a long time. The Anti-Terrorist Act bill was enacted, amended by President Clinton in 1996, right? The anti-terrorist bill was meant for individuals that commit terrorist acts against American citizens, right? And or on American soil, right? President Clinton himself, as well as President Obama, right? And a few other individuals has rightfully admitted, right, that the Anti-Terrorist Act bill was altered, right? Where they slid in a clause where they start to apply the Anti-Terrorist Act bill towards non-capital cases, towards American citizens when the bill wasn't meant for that. Long story short, what the bill does is this here. If you're in the court and you go to trial or if you plea out, you got 1 year after your direct appeal or another additional 90 days if you went to trial to for your cert to be granted. And all in all, you got 15 months. After those months,
Daryl, can I do this, Daryl? What I need for you to do is put your contact information in the phone in the chat. Those who, I mean, they're out there. People are saying stuff. They need to contact you, and so you can really explain that to them. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is and Grady, you shared with us earlier, well, when we first talked, how you wrote yourself out of prison. Yeah. You want to kind of share with us what that means?
Well, yeah. You know, I was at Martin, and I was a writ writer, and they was afraid of me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had officers to come to me and tell me when I was getting transferred from Lake Correctional down to Martin, the property room sergeants, they got to pull your files. Medical got to pull your files. Classification got to pull your files. Property got to pull your file. Yep. So she said, "Hey, Marshall, they finna send you to a hellhole. You're going to Martin." I said, "Okay, that's great." And by me being a Vietnam vet, and Dr. Jan Mauer, he was the psychologist at Lake Correctional. He started a program for combat veterans only, a therapy group. And he said, "I can block it." I said, "No, don't block me. Let me go." Because the brothers that was coming from Martin, they was telling me about how bad the conditions was there. So I was writing my grievances before I even left Lake. So when I got to Martin, I was just waiting for a housing assignment so I could put my housing assignment on the grievances and then drop them in the box. Before I even got the deed on, I already had my grievances in the box.
That's right.
I stayed at Martin about a month and a half. I made them shut the compound down. I made them pull all new sidewalks from Dedon all the way out to the main compound because it didn't comply with ASA. That no sidewalk can have a drop off more than 2 inches. And let me tell you something. Those people got me away from that. The bus was coming on a Tuesday. They put me on a van that Monday and sent me around the lake to a Moorhaven. But touching on what you were saying about the good officers and the bad officers, I met a warden Lambden. I got out from Jefferson, about 35 miles south of Tallahassee. And this man, if he's out there somewhere, I give him kudos for being an upstanding warden. This man told me straight up, he said, "Marshall," he said, "one of my officers come to me and tell me that you did something." I get choked up thinking about it. He said, "I'm going to come and ask you. And if you tell me that you didn't do it," he said, "I'm going to take your word before I take my officer's word," because that was the way that I walked. Now, you mentioned a brother named Rodney Lockett. I want you to do something when this program shut down. I want you to go on YouTube and pull up Free Rodney Lockett. This man got 13 natural life sentences for raping 2 white girls out of St. Petersburg, Florida, that he did not do. They did a swab on one of the girls. I got the paperwork. I can bring it and show it on the next program. Lockett sent me this. I was in there with Lockett for many, many years, from the Rock down to Lake. But they got a pubic hair off one of the white girls, and the word and say non-negroidal. Pubic hair didn't even come from a black man. And this brother, you talking about being a strong brother, walking with the Lord, he compared himself to Joseph. He said Joseph was in prison for something that he didn't do. He said, but God let him find favor. And Lockett, I reached out to classification again this week. I'm trying to get on this visitation list so I can get down to Zephyr Hills. He is mentoring the inmates who are getting ready to get out of prison. Every institution that Rodney Lockett has been in, the staff love him. They don't never want to see him transfer. You're talking about a man walking with God. Please, when you get off this program, go to YouTube and pull up Free Rodney Lockett. You will see a video that I did about 8 years ago for this brother.
Okay, hold that thought.
So we got a comment from Marilyn Coney, the last comment from Marilyn.
Yes. If we do the first one first.
Well, the first and the last one. Yeah. So we got some viewers that's chiming in, and it says, "I feel bad for my brother because of our mother's passing away, and she fought so hard to wait on him."
That's right.
And I know y'all hear many of that.
Yeah,
that's sad, man. You know, that touched my heart. I'm gonna say this real quick. You know why it touched my heart? There was a brother, I don't remember his name now, but he was at Lake Correctional with me, been many, many years ago. And he was from Lake County. And this man had minimum custody. And they would not allow him to go to his mother's funeral. right there in Lake County.
And Marilyn had one other comment, that last one, and then she's asking for some help here. She says, please help Javon Edgecombe. Just received 25 years mandatory, and he's only 22 years old.
Like me. At the time, 23.
Okay.
I know him.
If we could pull up the one at the top where it says the incarceration rate right there. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So while Black people make up 14% of Florida's population, they make up 48% of the state's prison population. Black people are incarcerated 3 times the percentage in the population as the 5 times the rate of white people.
Well, I stand in disagreement with that statement because I have a paper here that says this. Black people are disproportionately incarcerated under state supervision. Black men are 6 times as likely to be incarcerated than white men, and Latino men are almost 3 times as likely to be incarcerated than white men. 1 in every 7 people in the state of Florida is serving a life sentence.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If we could, now we got another video. It's not just men who are being brutalized in some instances.
No.
So we're gonna take just a brief look at this one, and we're gonna.
Thank you, sis. Yep.
Ocala, where Gina previously worked as a nurse.
What was it like at Lowell?
It's horrific. People are treated like dogs.
On August 21st, 2019, Cheryl was assigned to clean toilets. But she says she was in pain from a hip injury.
I did about 7 toilets and I realized I couldn't do anymore. So I got down to the 8th one and I said, I can't do it.
That's when she says Correction Officer Ryan Dion and Lieutenant Keith Turner handcuffed her, then attacked her in front of more than a dozen witnesses.
The lieutenant come running up in the back with his steel-toed boot and put it right through my spine. I mean, I went to my knees.
According to the lawsuit, while she was on the ground, they brutally beat her with blows to her head, neck, and back. She was elbowed and kneed in the back of her neck by at least one of her attackers, causing her to suffer a broken neck.
They carried me across the dirt, the cement with my neck going both ways. The girls even said they're carrying a dead person's leg.
This was part of the necessity for us to want to have this conversation. I know it's about fathers. Father's Day is coming up, and we really wanted to, those of our viewers who are watching, and if you can just tell somebody that you know that's incarcerated, you heard their names called on the show, it's going to get around because of that part. They talk. So I want to continue with Happy Father's Day to James Adams, to Pete Davis, to Ron Davis, to Curtis Jackson, to Harris Simmons, to Sinclair Hunter, to Kenneth Johnson, to Willie Harris, to James Bear Joseph, to Bobby Jackson, to Christopher L. Stokes, Anthony Hope, David Hargrove, William Gonzalez Jr., Anthony Keel. Wow. Brothers from here, Kenny Mike Jr., and E4 out of Miami, Johnny Keene, Craig Frazier, Ray Adderley, and Kenny McDonald. Now, I remember Kenny McDonald when we first started the West Side Gazette newspaper. Kenny McDonald was an artist, and he used to do cartoons and drawings for us in the West Side Gazette. So, to those brothers and those who we haven't called, who are being the fathers that we need out here, we're praying for you, man, and just say, don't give up. Don't give up. Just hang in there. Now, right. I do know now, Marshall. Do you want to mention what you do and put your information in the box, or how do you want to handle that?
Well, yeah, I put my email address up there.
Okay.
Because I get so many robocalls that if somebody's not in my contacts, I just look at it and I just kind of like dismiss it, But anyone that want to reach out to me through my email address, which is GRADYMARX as in X-ray, HALL @yahoo.com. I would be more than happy to respond, and any information that I can provide, any tips, I would be more than happy to share, because we have to stand up for our brothers and sisters, regardless of what their color is. We have to stand up for them because there's too much brutality that's going on in the system.
And there is another group that I reached out to, and it's called FloridaCaresCharity.org. FloridaCaresCharity.org. And if you think that someone is being abused, being raped, or any other thing, you can contact the Office of the Inspector General. Okay? And let me see if I have a phone number for them. Okay. Yes, there's an Emergency Action Center, and that number is 850-922-6867. All right. Now there's another number. Okay, hold up and let me repeat it.
And while we're waiting on our producer, Matthew Flash, another brother that's over there in Belgrade, and I just want to shout out his name. There's so many brothers that we know of that are a lot. Yeah.
You got Darren Jenkins. All the brothers got life sentences. You got so many brothers, man. We left behind with life sentences, man. I'm talking about it's like getting you a year and a day, but they walk around like they have a sentence, but it's like an illusion. There's just so many of them.
Yeah. That Florida Cares Charity there. That's Dr. Lisa Miriam, and that's that number up there. So.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Now with Mary and Lisa. Okay, you can go to the Department of Correction website. Now I know when you're asking the fox to watch the hen coop, you won't get the results, but they do have listings where you can call. But there are other outside agencies. And I was hoping that she would be on the call tonight. I don't want to give her information out if she has not given me permission to. So I'll leave that alone. If she comes on and says, okay, I'll do it, but I'll leave that alone. We cannot allow the abuse to continue. We may feel a certain way about people who are incarcerated. We may have formed our own conclusion about their guilt or innocence, but we can't do that. These are still our brothers and sisters.
That's right.
And we owe it to them to find out.
Yes, we do.
If they did it or if they didn't, and that the justice be met accordingly.
Yeah. But Bible, we also have to be forgiving, transformational minded. God's in control, and He can transform any soul. So we cannot hold grudges and think negatively in a positive situation.
That's right.
And as you were saying, they're deserving brothers. They're brothers that we know the rate of innocent black men being in prison is at a highest ever. And we're seeing that quite often where people are finally being released due to DNA, finding out that they had nothing to do with the crime. So definitely.
I see in Maryland, Ms. Coney, I would hope that you take down those numbers and begin that process so we can find some assistance from Mr. Edgecombe some way. And Natalie, thank you so very much. When you get a chance to talk to Anthony, please tell him that we have not forgotten about him and that we love him, and we're here to do what we can to help. I see we have attorney Sandra Shafira. Did I say it right? Yes, you told me to say attorney Sandra. So again, Sandra, can you put your number up if you need some other assistance? And I'm sure Sandra wouldn't mind. I know Daryl wouldn't mind, nor Grady. So,
amen.
To all of those watching, I see, do your thing. We're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, we're right at the top of the hour. So before we shut down, close out for tonight, we want you brothers to have, just your closing statements. Kind of leave us with something. Leave us with some nuggets. Leave those viewers, those future viewers that'll will be able to come back and view this show again. If you want to leave them something, I'm gonna start with you, Brother Marshall.
30 seconds.
Yes. All right. 30 seconds. I can
30
tell
seconds.
I can tell you this right here. The God that we serve is a good God, and he's a righteous God. Now, you know, the Bible says this: you have sown the wind, so now you're going to reap the whirlwind. My thing is this: we got to stay strong, we got to bond together, and we got to make sure that the injustice is reaped upon those who have inflicted it upon the people in our society and in our community. And I want to just say a shout out to all the fathers and the brothers out there. Happy Father's Day.
Brother Hope.
I agree, man. I agree 100%. You stay focused, stay strong, man. Stay prayed up. There is a God. You know, I'm living proof. Brother Marshall living proof, and many more other brothers. A lot of brothers are getting out here, man. And like I tell family members, man, it ain't who's coming home, it's what's coming home. You know?
Amen.
A lot of they don't understand it, man. But you know, we lead one way, but we come back with a different state of mind. You know, out with the old, in with the new. The new can be for you or against you. You know, so I tell them brothers, man, do the right thing, man. You know, take upon the spirit, man, and get in that mindset, man. Get rid of the old, man. Take upon the new, man, and come on home and support your family. And for the family members that don't know what to do and got individuals incarcerated, stay in touch. Call Tallahassee for those in Florida. They got case workers, case managers down there. Write internal affairs like I did. I'm like Brother Marshall. They shook me from place to place to place. I went to Lake Butler, man. They put me in a hole during Corona for about 2 weeks. I was in hell. I'm talking about I seen stuff, man, me and never even thought about. But you know, I made it up out of it. I left a lot of young brothers in there, and I prayed with them, and I told them the same thing: don't never give up. Man, they putting them away. You know, like I had a column I used to write, and the headline was called the body snatchers. And that's what they're doing in our community. They're snatching bodies. Every time they have a war, they come in our community and snatch up bodies. And who comes first? It's the black man.
Just remember this right here. My favorite scripture in the whole Bible is Psalms 37:25. And it says this: I have been young, but now I'm old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, now his seed begging bread. Yes. And I want you to know something. When I was up in Tallahassee, year before last, I went up to the Capitol with a group from Orlando that was buses from Miami, Pensacola, Jacksonville. But I told Anna Escamani this. I say the dissemination of misinformation will bring about deprivation. And you can believe that.
That's all right. Very good.
Note, my brother, you gonna close us out?
I'm gonna close us out. Again, I really want to say, and I'm gonna say this, I'm not gonna call his name, but he is responsible for a lot of stuff happening at where he is. I respect him. I love him so much that I won't call his name because of the work he's doing. And I just want to say thank you. He's not a father, but he's a father to many.
Amen.
And I want to say thank you. And I want to read this poem. It's called Behind Cold Bars, a Father's Heart Does Weep. His spirit cage, his loving eyes grow dim. He dreams of home where his children sleep, yet locked away, his hope seems bleak and grim. In shackles of regret, he bows his head. His mistakes replay like a haunting wail. He longs to hold his child, to make amends, to break free from this desolate, lonely jail. But even in the darkest, loneliest cell, his love still shines, a beacon through the night. His children, his reasons, his heart's well, his fights to make things right, to set things right. So let us not forget these fathers true, incarcerated, yet still strong and brave. Let us offer hope redemption come due, for love can conquer even the darkest cave. So happy
Amen.
Father's Day to our brothers. God bless you all. Until we meet again. Peace.
Hey, Bobby, I want to say happy
Peace.
Father's Day to my Uncle Charles Franklin, the greatest uncle in the world. My last uncle is standing. His birthday's coming up. I'm going to have a birthday bash for him. And happy Father's Day, Uncle, man. If you're listening, man. I appreciate
Right
y'all.
on.